Buenos días, estimados colegas. Lo siento mucho que no pueda estar con vosotros. Mi nombre es Zimmermann, trabajo en Viena, en Austria, y ya en el secretariado de la Red Europea PPRI. Pero voy a cambiar en inglés ahora porque mi español está muy pobre, está demasiado pobre para discutir. Entonces, I will talk now in English, and I would like to present you the PPRI network. So, shortly about my background, so that you know what I'm talking about, and the framework actually. So, I'm working for the Austrian Public Health Institute, which is 100% daughter of the Austrian Ministry of Health. And yeah, I work in the pharmacoeconomics department. And what are we doing there? We are looking at pharmaceutical policy analysis. We're looking at medicine prices. We are doing a lot of research, price service, for example, or other policy advice also for the European Commission, for example, for national policymakers, but also for WHO and World Bank. And since 2014, since 2010 and 2014, we were redesignated, and this year again, and as the WHO Collaborating Center for Pharmaceutical Pricing and Reimbursement Policies. And since 2005, we are the Secretariat of the PPRI network. So, a short outline of what I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes. First, I would like to explain you who we are, how the PPRI network works, the tools that we use, and in the end, I will talk a little bit, or we can discuss then also what you can learn from our experiences in establishing such a network in your region. So, looking at the first point, who are we? What is PPRI? PPRI is a network of competent authorities of pharmaceutical pricing and reimbursement, and it has the aim to allow for information exchange and experiences about pharmaceutical policies in general among the network members. And this is based on, we call it shared values such as solidarity and equity. So what does it mean? And we work for the public health purpose. So the health of the people is our main focus and of our work. And the work of the network is supported by scientific evidence and also creating a common understanding and language on pharmaceutical issues. What this is, I will explain later on. But the PPRI initiative really lives from the commitment and from the contribution of the network members who provide information and data and share experiences and information on a purely voluntary basis. So it's really an informal network. It means, okay, you know your colleagues who are in the same position as you but work in other countries or in other institutions. So it's really, yeah, among colleagues, a network among colleagues. Who are we? The PPRI network now has grown quite large. We have 46 member countries in our European PPRI network, and this covers all 28 EU member states. Here you have the map of Europe, as you can see, and we cover all the EU member states, but also some further European countries from the WHO European regions like Armenia, Kazakhstan, Iceland, Israel, Switzerland, Serbia, Turkey, but also 3 non-European countries. And this is Canada, South Africa, and South Korea, but this is because of historical reasons. They were members since the beginning. And, well, who can be member of our PPRI network? It's only competent authorities in the field of pricing and reimbursement. So it's medicines agencies, for example, if they are in charge of pricing or reimbursement, it's health insurance funds, it's National Health Service, it's really a broad mixture of different institutions, but they're the official institutions from their countries. So we have more than 80 institutions represented in our PPRI network. And apart from the institutions, we also have international partners like the European Commission, the World Bank, OECD is also a member of our PPRI network. And yeah, in last year we started to build up kind of a daughter network to PPRI because it is really very large. And yeah, we had the feeling that it's also good to create some more regional networks, and we started also creating the PPRI CIS network, which is a network operating in Russian-speaking countries. Such as, for example, it's 12 countries being represented there, like Ukraine, Moldova, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and some others. Yes, so when looking at the different levels of collaboration, you have here a chart showing the different levels, starting from information sharing towards to more formal collaboration in the field of doing, for example, joint negotiations, or then also to do joint tenders. And where is PPRI located? Well, it's here. It's only about information sharing, actually, within our collaboration. We don't do joint tenders. We don't do joint negotiation on products. I would say the PPRI network, it's a group of 200 individuals working together and sharing information, experiences, and it's steered by one secretariat. And this secretariat is located at our institute. A few words about the history of PPRI. Well, it already started 15 years ago almost, in the years 2003, 2004, when there was the problem, or there was a situation that there was only little exchange of information between countries. There was the need to learn from examples from other countries, but there was no sustainable system really to do that. And also to provide this country information kind of standardized format, for example. You could find all the different information, but in different languages, in different formats. And then the European Commission said, okay, we would like to launch a project in this area. So PPRI started actually as a research project funded by the European Commission. And we were acting since then as the secretariat, and we were the project leader of this research project, which ran from 2005 till 2007. And we had some associated partners, but it started with funding from the European Commission. The objective back then was to improve the knowledge and to promote information exchange about the pharmaceutical system in the outpatient sector, in the large European region. So the focus was on the outpatient sector back then. And when it ended, it was continued by a sister project, which is called the PHIS project, the FIS project. And then within this project, where we also, our institute was the project leader, we tried to have a more comprehensive view on the in and outpatient sector in a combined format, actually. What were the results of this research project? So there were, we created a lot of PPRI pharma profiles were written by the country members. Pharma profiles are descriptions of the pharmaceutical pricing and reimbursement system following really a standardized format. A glossary was developed on pharmaceutical terms. Indicators were developed. We also, a comprehensive report was written, the PPRI report, but I will explain later on a little bit more in detail what it means, how it looked like. And well, also in the PHIS, in the succeeding project, we had some, we explored the medicine management in the hospital sector, and also did specifically a price survey of medicines in hospitals, and also looked at the interface management, so the interplay between the outpatient and the inpatient sector. But since then, since 2008, the PPRI network, I have to say, continues on a voluntary basis. So after the end of the project, it was said, okay, how we are going to continue, and it was also from the member states that they said, okay, we would like to continue in this format because it has proven very useful. So since then, it is really a voluntary network and driven by the countries. But still, the PPRI Secretariat is at our institute, which is supported by the Austrian Ministry of Health. So we, as the Secretariat, receive some funds in steering the PPRI network from the Austrian Ministry of Health. Now, let's look into the tools we use. How do we work together in the PPRI network? And the tools that were developed during the research project, but also since then were further improved. And this is the core actually of our PPRI network. This is the PPRI toolbox, how we call it. And this is just an overview of the different tools that we use, and I would like to explain in detail now what do the different bubbles here mean. So here's the PPRI Secretariat. Let's start with this one in the middle, because it's quite important to have a group of people really doing the secretariat work and in steering the work of the network. So this is the team we have here at our institute. We are 4 people working in this project, and but I have to mention that this is only a very small part of our actual work. So I think about 10% of our work is dedicated to the work in the PPRI Secretariat. So you can imagine that we also have other projects and other things to do. But I would say, and I've calculated, it's about 900 working hours per year working for the PPRI Secretariat actually. So this is the core. Coming to an important part of our work is on pharmaceutical profiles. What are pharmaceutical profiles? Pharmaceutical profiles are descriptions and reports how are the pharmaceutical systems organized in the different countries. And this is done on a very standardized way and on a structured basis. So you will find in those pharmaceutical profiles, you find background information about the country, for example, life expectancy or how much is spent on health. You will find information, into very general information, how pharmaceutical systems are organized, on pricing and reimbursement system in detail, and ways of pricing procedures, how do you deal with hospital medicines, how are the distribution partners are remunerated, about VAT, and also about some elements on rational use of medicines and future challenges. So these are the reports. You will also find we have a short version which has only 30 pages per country, or you can write a long version actually, which is about 70 pages per country. And we have also posters, so 1 pages. So you have at one, if you look at it, and you get a very simplified overview of how the system works, how it is organized in the countries. And you will find we published all those country reports on our website of our collaborating center. You will have here the link. We have about 40 to 50 country reports already. And well, they were mainly produced a few years ago, but during the research projects that were funded. But some of them, for example, for Austria or for Sweden, we have also updated versions. And also Norway updated their report, I think, 1 or 2 years ago. So yeah, you will find all of them at the indicated link. And you will also find the templates. So how do the reports look like? You will find them also at the website. It's a unified format so that you know, okay, I'm looking for information. Where do I find price lists of this country, and how often are they updated? And you only need to look in the different sections of the report, so you directly know where to find this information. So we also published the report templates, which you can find here as the presented link. Yeah, what do we do with these different country profiles? Well, we also do kind of country comparisons, really, or also a compilation of the information. And this is done in the PPRI report. We did it once in 2008. This is the PPRI report you can see here. It was published in 2008, and it includes a comparative analysis of 27 countries. And also in the annex, you will find the detailed country reports. But what we are currently working on an update. So this we plan to publish it still this year. So I can give you then the information as soon as it is published. So and this report will provide you an overview of the different systems in the different 46 countries actually. So you will find the information, for example, how many countries apply external price referencing within our PPRI network. And also after the PPRI report, back then in 2008, we published in 2010 a report which was dedicated to the information mainly in the inpatient sector, where the focus was on the inpatient sector, but it also includes kind of a comparative overview of out and inpatient sector, and it also includes the results of a quite interesting price survey we did back then. Yes, so I shortly talked about the update that we are planning to do. So this should only give you an overview or an outline of what you can expect within the new report. And yes, so the table of contents here, what you can find then in this report. But I will not explain that in detail now. So another important tool actually, what we found out is, okay, we all come from different countries, we speak different languages, and even if we use English as our common language for communication, we had the feeling that sometimes, okay, we were talking to each other, using the same term, but actually having different concepts in mind. And also when you know that when you work in research, you know that it is very important first to talk about definitions. Because when you do a country comparison, you need to know your research question and the definition of the different terms, what you're talking about. And then you can start really to compare different things together. So the glossary, actually, the glossary of pharmaceutical terms is, should not be underestimated. It's really an important part to make sure that we are on the same page, that we talk about the same things, that we use the same terminology even, and that we, to have a common understanding and to have a common language that we use within our project. So we developed a glossary of pharmaceutical terms, which use also the input from other stakeholders like WHO, OECD, and other member states. And since 2006, this glossary was enlarged and also revised regularly and updated. We did the last update still this year. For example, if there are new terms that come on the table, like biosimilars, the definition of biosimilars, or something else that was not a topic 10 years ago. So we try really to revise this glossary quite often. And it comprises now 400 terms of different pharmaceutical terms. For example, here listed some international referencing is explained and described, or external price referencing. And when you look for the definitions that we use, you can use the online search. Here you find the link. And the good thing is, actually, we also translated some of the most important terms. And the good thing here is that we already have a Spanish translation, for example, of the most important terms, where you find the link here. And I would also like to invite you to have a look at this one. It was, I think, developed a few years ago and was not updated since then. I would like to invite you to have a look at this glossary and to check, okay, is it really correct what we wrote back then, or would you also have different terms to be integrated in this glossary? And this is something that needs to be looked at in the long run. Now I come to the core of our activities, I would say, which is the organization of network meetings and also conferences in the end, because as I said at the beginning, it's a network among colleagues. And the most important thing is actually to know each other, to know the person on the other side of the telephone, and really to have the trust that the information this person provides is correct. And what we do is usually organize personal meetings twice a year. And every 4 years we have a larger conference, but I will explain it later on. And usually it's a 2-day meeting, and it has a rotation principle. So every half a year we are in another it is hosted by another PPRI network member. So for example, in April, we were in Ireland, in Dublin, and next week, that's also the reason why I cannot join you actually at your great meeting. We are in Slovenia and Ljubljana, and for the secretariat, it's all the time a lot of work to prepare those meetings. Because we as the secretariat, we are in charge of the agenda. So we develop the plan for the different sessions, we invite the speakers, but we have the support from our local host. So the Slovenian partner, they support us, they give us the location actually, also they provide for the refreshments, for the lunch, and they prepare a very nice social program, and then in the evening, which is also very important. And at each meeting we have one or two really overall topics. For example, in Dublin we discussed about patient involvement in pricing and reimbursement decisions, and look at these topics from different perspectives and hear different opinions from different countries. At each meeting we have a poster session with country presentations. So at each meeting every country can present what is going on in their country, what are different reforms that are going on. And yes, this is done in a poster format. And then we have, at each meeting, we present the results of some network queries. What it is, I will explain later on. And it's a very interactive meeting, actually. We have an interactive session very often with group work. And breaks are very important, and the social dinner is also very important. There are sometimes also external people invited to present some interesting research results, for example. And there's always a good opportunity for the hosting country, for example, to get more staff involved. Because usually to PPRI network meetings, only one or two members from the different institutions participate. We're always a group of around 50 to 60 people at these meetings, and only members can participate. It's very active, but the travel and the accommodation costs are always covered by the PPRI network members themselves. Look, as I told you, location support is usually organized and financed by the local hosting country. There's a checklist. We developed a checklist for organizing such meetings, so what should be looked at and what should be taken care of. Here you will find a picture of our last meeting. This is also the family picture that we take every time. And I would also invite you or request you to do that, because it's always a nice memory to have these photos. This was in Ireland. And well, within our PPRI network meetings, it's a closed group, because it's the main focus is on exchanging information to build trust and to get to know each other. And it's only competent authorities are invited to those network meetings. And we also do not publish then the presentations for an outer world, I would say. But at every 4 years we have our large PPRI conference, and it's 2015 was the last one, so you can imagine the next one will be next year, and plans have already started. And within these large conferences, we also invite, for example, other stakeholders like pharmaceutical companies can participate, but also representatives of pharmacies, of wholesalers, or researchers actually. So at our last conference in Vienna, we had 260 participants from 56 countries, yes. And I think you can already pencil the date in your calendar. We will announce it quite soon that the next conference will take next year in October here in Vienna. And yeah, we are currently working on the topic and setting up the different administrative issues, but we will inform you soon. And well, what we also developed actually this year, or what we thought would be a good idea to do, webinars. Because also even compared, I mean, to your continent, but Europe seems to be quite small, but there are also large distances actually to get to another place. And we thought, okay, it would be also good, we can use our new technologies actually. So we organized a PPRI webinar where it was a virtual conference or a virtual meeting. And we looked into the topic, we tried it out for the first time in June. We looked into the topic of demand-side measures to promote generic uptake, like INN prescribing or generic substitution. And we looked into the questions, which policies do have an impact on the generic uptake, and what are the incentives for doctors or pharmacists behind. We looked into evidence from literature and looked specifically in the question, okay, what can others learn from countries with high generic uptake? It was quite an informative webinar, and it allowed to exchange information also in between the network meetings. And this is good, for example, for if you have some other members who usually cannot participate to PPRI network meetings because of funding reasons or whatever. So the webinar provides also for them an opportunity to participate actually, because they can participate from the desktop at home. Information communication. Of course, this is an important point in such a large network. What we have is we have a website, which is from our collaborating center, where we try to publish as much as possible, which is thought to be brought forward to a bigger audience actually. But we also have a closed intranet, we call it the PPRI intranet, which is only available for the PPRI members, and where they can log in and find information on the network meetings. They can download the presentations, they can download the list of participants, they can find information, contact information from the other network members. They will find also information on the queries of results that were posted to the network in recent times, for example. So this is quite important. And yeah, a big task of our PPRI Secretariat is, of course, the organization and the administrative part, the organization and the maintenance of the network. We have developed in our PPRI network a really designated admission procedure. We have a membership form which needs to be signed, and it includes also a conflict of interest declaration, actually, and also some information on data protection issues. Yeah, we only have one email address that should be addressed by the network members, which is ppri@goeg.at, which is read by the 4 people working at the Secretariat. Yeah, we have the intranet, and the PPRI network meetings are usually paperless meetings, so it means the presentations are uploaded in the intranet. And we always ask our network members to keep us informed on any changes and if there are updates on the contact details. As you can imagine, we have 80 institutions being members of the PPRI network. This is also a part of the work that shouldn't be underestimated. And of course, as the Secretariat, we also try to improve ourselves constantly. I would say we had last year, we launched an online survey to our PPRI network members, where we asked them some questions like, okay, what do you see? What should be improved? What should be maintained? Does PPRI help you in your daily work? And what is going well? And what are ideas for the future actually? And this is also quite interesting to hear some feedback from the network members actually. And now I would like to explain a little bit about PPRI network queries, which developed over time actually, and they were not planned in the beginning, but they developed, and they are quite a useful tool. And this is also was brought forward from our network members, that this is quite the asset also from the PPRI network. So what are PPRI network queries? PPRI network queries, they started in 2007, and it means simply sending out an email to all the almost 200 participants to the PPRI network and asking for information in their countries and getting responses in a very short time. So usually we have a deadline of 2 weeks. So if a country representative wants to know, okay, what's the price of Spinraza in your country? and sends out this query to this email list and gets responses within 2 weeks or even a shorter time if it's needed from different countries. And usually they're about, it depends on the question, of course, but if it's a more complex question, you get less answers usually. But if it's just a price question, or if you want to know if this specific product is reimbursed in another country, then you usually get a lot of replies. So you get answers from 15 to 20 countries within a very short time. And we observed 450 of such queries since 2007, actually. And we developed, together with our network members, some guiding principles, because if everybody is sending emails out to each other, then very soon your mailbox gets spammed. And we developed some guiding principles actually doing this, and also to report back then about the results. The results then are shared between the network members and also uploaded to the intranet. And for example, if you want to use the information you collected from the other countries, you want to use for a publication, of course you have to ask for the consent from the other members. And yes, so they're a really useful tool, and they're used quite heavily, I would say. Yes. So another part of our work, what we do in PPRI, is on working on pharmaceutical indicators, and it's also related here to the research work actually. What are we doing as a secretariat? We send out 2 times a year a survey to our members asking about changes in their pricing and reimbursement systems. And we do then also publication. So we do an analysis of this information and then also use it for publication. For example, you will find here in the 2 articles that are listed here, you will find an overview of, okay, what changes were implemented in the countries in recent years in the field of pricing or reimbursement, and it should also give you an idea or some trends on how the developments are in the European area. So, yes, for example, here is a chart showing the results. So, for example, a change that was implemented quite often was a price cut in the countries. So the prices were simply cut. And related to this, we collect information on, we call it pharmaceutical indicators, and we do an annual update of this information, but this is only available for PPRI network members. Quite an extensive list of indicators I looked at. For example, you will find very detailed information on external price referencing, which countries are used, how the calculation is done, etc. So part of this information is also shown then in the PPRI report, actually what is then published. Yes, so something I would don't want to forget to mention. Since last year we have established an advisory board to our PPRI network, and the role of this advisory board was to provide advice and guidance to the Secretariat in its vision management and performance of PPRI related activities, but also to allow a structured information exchange between representatives of international institutions actually. Because we found, okay, OECD is doing that, the European Commission is doing that, WHO is doing a different activity, and there was actually no platform of exchanging information also between the different international institutions. And this is planned or is going on at the level of the PPRI Advisory Board. Usually there are meetings of the Advisory Board which are around PPRI network meetings. And who are the members of the PPRI Advisory Board? So it's us, the PPRI Secretariat. We have a WHO Regional Office for Europe, WHO Headquarter, OECD, European Commission, the Austrian Ministry of Health as being the kind of the project sponsor for the Secretariat. But we also have some network members represented, like representatives from Estonia, Norway, Spain, and Ukraine. So this is how we work in PPRI. So very briefly, and now let's look into the lessons learned and options for creating a PPRI network in your region maybe. So the PPRI network really lives from the commitment from its members. So from the contributions that come, the voluntary provided information, the data that is shared, the experiences that are shared. And yeah, it really builds on a mutual trust and respect. So openness is key actually. So as I said, it's voluntary, it's informal, and it's really member states driven. Yeah, it does also mean that you need to contribute from your part actually, and the terminology is quite, the glossary developed is a major supporting tool, and also the high interest actually from the network members to continue this collaboration. They see the value of exchanging information, to provide information on the country. And yeah, here, as I said, it's important that PPRI members know each other. Of course, this is also dependent on the people that are involved in the network. So sometimes if a network member is really very actively engaged in the PPRI network, but then retires or leaves the institution, then of course the collaboration with this institution still then needs to be started from the new. And yes, so this also has to do with kind of the personal commitment of the people sitting in the PPRI network. What is very good is to have some kind of moderator, to have a secretariat, looking also at on the administrative part of the network management, but also on the content actually. Which topics are already covered, or where should we further develop some ideas, and where's the road where we should go further? It is a give and take situation in the PPRI network. So yeah, this is, for example, the principle from network queries. So if you want to launch a query and send it to the network, you should usually be the one also answering to queries from other countries. So, and the PPRI network also benefits from being quite a closed group. It's only competent authorities. Of course, pharmaceutical industry is very much interested in what are we doing here and what are we discussing. But these discussions, this dialogue is taking place at other occasions, so outside the PPR network. PPR network is really for competent authorities and only for its members. An intranet is required, and a website is also required. Yeah, the information that is provided from PPR network members usually should be treated confidentially. So if you want to publish or use some of the information within your work, you should ask for the consent of the PPR network member providing this information. And yeah, startup financing, of course, this was quite helpful, but since 2008, it's really a self-financed project or self-financed network, apart from the secretariat. Yeah, and also what we do, what we don't do is, in PPR network, we do not publish opinions. So you will never find a statement from our side. So it's not that we say, okay, the PPR network claims that this and this policy is the best option. This is not what we do, actually. Because as you can also imagine, that it's 46 member countries, and yeah, it's quite hard to reach an opinion or to have a statement on specific issues within this large group. But this is also not the way we work, actually. It's only a platform for exchanging information and experiences, but not for drafting joint statements on specific topics. So what's the benefit for the PPRI network members, actually, to exchange with colleagues, to learn from each other, to meet with peers, to access up-to-date information, actually, from other member countries, to have access to pharmaceutical policy research, and also it's kind of capacity building. So for example, for myself, at each meeting I learn something new I didn't know before. So it's also, it has kind of a training effect also at these network meetings and conferences. However, there are some expectations, actually, towards network members. So it's expected that they actively contribute at the meetings, that they contribute with posters and presentations, that they participate in the discussions and the group work, and also to host a meeting once in a while, and to participate also in the network queries, and yeah, to have these voluntary contributions like writing a pharmaceutical profile, writing yeah, a short report of your country's system, and if possible, of course, to translate the glossary in the national language, because this helps actually. Yeah, some lessons learned. The PPRI network has grown quite large. As you can see, we have 46 member countries. In your case, it would be fewer countries, and the PPRI network is focused only on the European region. Also, as you can imagine, also the European region is very heterogeneous, and sometimes it's difficult to find a common denominator for some policies or for some discussions, actually. So even within our large PPRI network, there might be some more homogeneous subgroups, and this would probably be easier for the management of such a network. And this is a question I want to give you, or to ask you actually. Could a PPRI network in South America meet the specific needs of countries in developing their pharmaceutical profiles? So could the PPRI network help you in your daily work? Actually, can you imagine this? And yeah, this is the PPRI toolbox, as you've seen before. And this can be adapted actually to your region. So this is something you should look at actually. It can be adapted. So there are tools available, there are guidelines available, everything that could be used or translated or further developed to your needs, and could be adjusted to your needs, and to see if it fits in your framework actually, in the work, how you collaborate together. So what I wanted to mention, PPRI is not the only network that is working in this field. So we experience, or we observe since a few years, a growing number of voluntary collaborations between countries in the field of pharmaceutical policy. For example, the Benelux collaboration, where Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Austria, and since this year also Ireland work together in more specific issues of pricing and reimbursement. But they, for example, what they do is they would like to do also joint negotiations, to do joint statements actually on behalf of this initiative. So PPRI is not the only one. And I've listed here some examples, but they're quite old now. I think there are some new ones. And I can imagine that there are some examples also from your region. So for the discussion, I would like to give you some guiding questions actually. So the question is, okay, would you like to establish this kind of network also in your region? And if yes, how could the collaboration look like actually? You should look at points, some questions for the organization, funding, is there a secretariat, who could be the secretariat, and the adaptation of the tools that need to be adapted to your needs actually. So here in my almost last slide, I indicated also an article about PPRI that was published a few years ago, also summarizing how we work, what we do, and which lessons learned we could draw from our experiences and from our projects so far. And yes, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I hope it worked well with the video translation as well. And yeah, I will be then fully online for questions, and will be happy to answer them. But I would like also to express the invitation to you to come to our meetings in Europe, and to be as an observer, to see how we work, and how this really feels to be part of a PPRI network. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.